I want to tell you how we helped someone get out of a wage garnishment recently. So, obviously, this isn't going to apply to everybody that has a wage garnishment, but this is a pretty reasonable plan of attack that you can take. If you find out about a debt collector coming after you when they start garnishing your wages, it means they've probably got a judgment against you and you weren't aware that they had the judgment or that they were taking action in court. Normally, when a debt collector takes you to court, they've got to serve you with a summons and a complaint that gives you notice of the lawsuit and an opportunity to defend yourself. But a lot of times, that summons doesn't make it to you. For example, they may serve it at an old address of yours, or they may just be, tricky about it and not actually serve you at all, but tell the court that they've served you. Sometimes they'll make an effort to serve you, they don't find you, and they go to the judge and say, hey, we've tried at all of these different addresses to serve this person, we couldn't find them. Can we do service by mailing a copy to the last known address? Or even serve them by publishing notice of the summons in the newspaper. You're never going to read the legal notices in the newspaper. You never learn about these types of summonses. And then the only way that you find out about it is when they start garnishing your wages. So this person, they learned about the lawsuit against them when their wages were being garnished. Came to me, said, what can we do about this? Now, we determined that they weren't served, and what it looked like is they were served at an address of a relative. The relative was served, the relative didn't provide notice to the person being sued. But of course, service on the relative was not adequate service on the client. So what this person did is they filed a motion to set aside the judgment. Now, a motion to set aside the judgment is telling the judge, hey, we have a judgment against us, but we don't think it was fairly entered. We think there was some mistake or improper procedure by which the judgment was obtained. So filed the motion to set aside the judgment, went to the court hearing, and at the court hearing said, hey, it looks like, based on all the documentation, that they served this person's relative, they didn't serve this person. So what we want you to do, judge, is we want you to set aside the judgment, get rid of it. That will effectively start the case over. But we also want you to return the money that has already been garnished from this person's paycheck because, the judgment was improperly obtained. Well, what the judge did was actually set what's called an evidentiary hearing. So the judge didn't rule on the motion, but said, I think we need to have evidence in court under oath as to whether service was proper or not. At an evidentiary hearing, everybody's got to bring witnesses, they've got to bring documents as evidence, and we're going to put people under oath, presumably put the client under oath, and that person is going to say, yeah, I did not live at that address where that was served. We could bring the family member to the evidentiary hearing, have that person testify, yeah, I received this, and the client did not live with me at that time. So the judge set an evidentiary hearing for a couple weeks away. Well, when stuff like this happens, it kind of sort of greases the wheels on settlement discussions. Now, the debt collector's attorney could see the writing on the wall. You go to an evidentiary hearing like this, what kind of evidence is the debt collection attorney going to put on to show that the client was properly served? I guess they could bring the process server in and say, yes, I handed the document to that person, but I think that was probably unlikely, and I think the attorney knew that. So what the attorney proposed was, we've only collected a small amount of this judgment from the garnishing the paychecks. I don't want to have to pay it back to you. I don't want to start this case over from the beginning. Why don't you just, let's enter a settlement where I keep the small amount of money that was garnished from the paycheck. We will not garnish any more money, and we will dismiss the case with prejudice in its entirety. And, that was the deal that was agreed to. So I think it was a really good result for everybody involved. The debt collector got a little bit of money, and frankly, the case was probably not defensible once the judgment got set aside, because, there was some money owed there. It was probably going to lose. This was an effort to sort of muddy the waters a little bit and get a resolution reached. And I think everybody walked away happy in the end, where debt collector got a little bit of money, the case got dismissed, for a reasonable settlement amount, and that was that. So, this is a good way to get rid of a garnishment if you learn about the lawsuit when the wages are garnished. Of course, if you receive a summons and ignore it, and then your wages are getting garnished, this isn't going to work. And I also want to note that this isn't going to work in every case, right? Because you may have a judge that says, no, I think you were validly served, or I think you were avoiding service on purpose, and I'm going to let the judgment stand. Or you can set aside the judgment. It doesn't get rid of the case altogether. It's going to send the case back to the start, and then you have to defend it. And they're going to have an opportunity to prove that you owe the debt. But I think what taking an approach like this does is it gives you the opportunity to just, muck things up enough that, good settlement talks can happen. And you can reach a resolution that works for you, and they can reach a resolution that works for them if that's possible. So if you end up in this situation, that's something to try. Again, a motion to set aside a judgment. You can find that form on my website at debtbrief.com. And of course, if you need even more help, you can set up a time on my website to meet with me as well. So good luck. If you need more help, head to debtbrief.com.